Hello friends and welcome. Today we're going to try something new to make learning about warding fun and engaging. I prepared a quiz for Grubby. If you don't know who he is, he's a great guy who is a legend in the RTS community and has been learning Dota for the last year. He calibrated in Herald and has just recently made it to Divine in less than a year, so he's been learning and improving a ton, and now we're going to find out how much he knows about warding. I'm going to be showing him clips of good or bad warding from all sorts of different ranks, and I didn't tell him anything, so just based on the information he sees on the screen, he has to try to figure out where the enemies might have observers, where he should be warding, if he wants to play a certain way, and I challenge all of you to also be thinking about this. Even though I think it's probably fun to listen along, I think the discussion's great, but I think the best way to learn would be to challenge yourselves and also try to think about it and process that information you see on the screen as it happens. If you enjoy this video, please keep an eye out for part 2, where we'll be covering even more complex examples of warding. And of course, if you can see how fun of a time it is to hang out with Grubby and you want to catch more of him, then head over to his channels on Twitch and YouTube. There's content there every single day, and I will have the links in the description. Enjoy the rest of this video.
I'm seeing right now that Sand King does not have any wards. We are watching from Dire. Who are we following?
So first we're going to follow Sand King, and then we're going to switch perspectives. So like I said, at any point you can stop me if you feel like you see something, but otherwise I'll prompt you.
Let me take stock of the situation. Sure. Sand King, Shadow Fiend, PA. So PA 1, Bristleback 3 presumably?
I think so.
Wait, who's Sand King? Okay.
It might be support Sand King.
Yeah, Sand King 4, Bristle 3, Skywrath 5? PA 1, Shadow Fiend 2. Bit weird. I normally don't play Skywrath as a 5, only as a 4. I don't feel like he does as well there. But what level is this?
I'm gonna hold that from you first.
Okay.
I feel like if I tell you the rank, you'll get an idea whether it's gonna be a good ward or a bad ward.
But just based on the draft, my guess is, and you do not confirm this is Archon. But okay, let's continue.
All right, let's see it. That'll be a bonus game. We can pick at the end what the rank is.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so we have Skywrath and Sand King coming here. They want to put some pressure on the tier 1. There is an Ops ward over there already. Yeah. He gets hit. Okay. He's staying there, even though they had vision of him there.
Yeah, anything suspicious about that?
I'm thinking there's an observer ward and a sentry probably on top of that hill. I don't think he checked it recently. That's my guess, because he got hit by the arrow. I'm thinking there wouldn't be any observer wards to the east, because they're too common to be cleared by sentry wards that unblock or block the camp or whatever. To the left, they wouldn't have seen him because there's trees. So I'm thinking there's one on top. So he shouldn't feel safe staying here.
Yeah, pretty spot on. And just to think about it from another perspective then, Mirana arrowed him because she saw him from her observer. Because you are right, there is one on this cliff. That's how she knew. Yeah, but like the thing is, like she probably shouldn't do it because it kind of revealed to him that, you know, they probably have vision of me. Like, why did she just hit me? Like that arrow makes no sense, right?
So, it wasn't even targeted towards the pumpkins, the pineapple. So there was no ulterior motive.
Yeah, exactly. So then that's something I think a lot of support should think about. It's like sometimes you have vision of something. It's like, oh, I can hit him with my spell. But if it's not like going to lead to anything like a kill, then you might just be revealing the fact that you have an observer.
Yeah.
And then in the same clip...
I think he left either because there is no sentry on top, or because he saw Bristle and Skywrath presumably moving in that location. So they both should have a lot of info. Some info was wasted, and my guess is they're not going to act on it. Will the clip go on, or was this the end of it?
We can watch a few more seconds to see a couple more.
Okay, let's see.
A couple more things. So we're going to switch to Skywrath perspective now.
Okay. Yeah. He also got hit kind of... It felt like a plant hit from behind the tree. Okay. They still have vision. And of course they have Mirana, so they could plan the whole thing. Yeah. A terribly preventable catastrophe. I'm going to downwards adjust my rank assessment from Archon to Guardian.
You're pretty spot on. Yeah, that's the end of this one. And yeah, it is a mix of Crusader and Guardian.
Okay, there we go. That's cool. I like these so far. Nice scenario. Okay, Shadow Shaman, level 1. We are at... Is this 10 seconds? Or oh, it's nighttime.
Negative 10 seconds. It's at the start of the game.
10. Okay. He could, in theory, be in vision. I'm not sure if he came here right away. I'm assuming that he could be in vision, so against punch. Yeah, all right. That's yeah.
So based on that, any
Oh,
thoughts?
nice physical damage. So, obviously, you shouldn't stand here. Like, if you walk here immediately, you can stand there for a bit, but -10, you can't stand near the river. You would have to stand further back against the trees. And even if you got hooked then, you would at least know the Alps ward is on your side based on that. Like, even so, I would still suspect probably it's on your side. There's one really popular area right on top of the cliff hill there that sometimes people put it if they use smoke to get there. Alternatively, it could be, as we regrettably see from the minimap, we know it's already on this side of the river, hugging the river. But like, yeah, that was dumb because they have a pudge and people are not in position to do any kind of contest for bounty runes. People were like very passively positioned. Orange Morphling has like the selfish for mid lane positioning, so he wasn't going to get any help. No reason for him to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And it's
he even had shackles, so that even if he steps up and he shackles someone, he still cannot use it to gain mobility on the bounty.
yeah, yeah. And that's good to think about. Like, I would say, like, Pudge especially is one you should always think about at the start of the game. Marana, another one with the arrow. Like, you never want
Yeah,
to stand still in a spot that has, like, it's pretty common to put observers. And if you have to take a guess, like, in the mid lane, there's almost always two, one for each team. So
yeah,
at least now you know it's on the bottom half. And like you said, there's a couple places you could kind of guess. But as long as you have, like, an idea, it's fine to guess for it. You don't always have to know, like, perfectly. Because in the end, warding is always a bit of RNG chance. Like some people
yeah.
put it a little different, but as long as you have a good chance, it's all good.
I would TP to mid with Shadow Shaman. I would go claim that gold myself. Would you not? Do you just tell your team? Do you think? Can we see if he's gonna TP mid?
Oh sure, yeah.
Like, what
I
does Morphling have sentries?
I would say Morphling should buy his own sentry and give it a shot because that way he gets the gold. He's the mid laner. At this
Mm.
bracket, maybe that's not going to happen. At the higher brackets, like that's what would happen. Possibly the
Oh yeah.
support buys the sentry and drops it for the mid. Otherwise, the mid
Ah,
can do it. I'd say the issue with coming like TPing mid to then go for it is that like he'd be doing it right now, right? He'd be denying it, but then he's gonna be late to lane. Probably the entire
yeah,
first wave is dead by the time he gets back,
that's
and
true.
it could be. I don't usually trust my cores to like handle the first wave on their own, so I
Yeah,
hate being late to lane as a support.
I would agree with that. Like, I've played a lot of one, and I would not enjoy it usually.
Hmm.
1v2ing, it can kind of feel like it ruined the lane, and it feels like it more than it did sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we're gonna jump way ahead in this game. So
All right,
from
cool.
here we can take stock. The exact pace of the game doesn't matter. We can just see what's happening.
Okay, so we're 4v4. We're attacking on tower. Medusa, does he have Aegis? No,
No.
no Aegis. Okay, so he's gonna place Obsward on top. Okay. Tango is feeding. What the fuck is that?
As you identified, it's about Guardian Crusader.
Yeah.
Okay, pop quiz. From what you saw, is there anything on this cliff?
He dusted. Interesting. Well, is there anything on the cliff? Let me see. Hmm. Based on the lanes, we have recently been pushing in top lane. It looks like top lane has been pushed in multiple times based on Morphling's deaths. So I'm guessing there's nothing here. Generally, there are supports dumb enough to put an observer ward when they're the losing pushed team to put observer ward for free clear for the momentum pushing team. But the better habit would be not to do it, in which case I would not expect anything here. This is the number one ward that always gets cleared while Dire is pushing in. So he should not waste any sentry or ops on this. I have a lot of supports, even at my rank, the very lofty rank of Ancient, which I used to belong to. That would Crystal Maiden would put an ops and a sentry here for vision, even though you're about to vacate the area, which would be bad. So he should just run. I think he should even TP because he's so slow, and I don't think he can get away on time.
Hmm. So I agree with your analysis for your new divine rank. Going back to the fact that this is Guardian. So let me tell you, let's say there is an observer here. Would you
Yeah.
would you go for the D ward right now?
No, no, because you're 3v4 and enemy's gonna want to push out. Like, I think you just let it go.
Hmm. Yeah, you're right, exactly. Especially with some of their teammates, maybe making some questionable choices. It's
Yeah.
retreat mode, and something that a lot of supports kind of forget when going for D wards is that if you're right, like, oh, I think they have an observer there, I'm gonna go for it. You have to remember you're walking into vision or you're already under it. So Crystal
Yeah.
Maiden does check, she finds it, but then it's like, well, now I actually have to kill it. And if you don't
Yeah.
have the time and the safety to kill it, like even if it's somewhere else, like, oh, I think they have a observer over here. Like if you can't walk over there and live, then it's not the time to do it.
That's a very
Uh,
good point.
mhm.
Because he's been in vision for how long with Crystal Maiden's move speed? Oh, so
Yeah,
he
several seconds
like
at least.
yeah. And there's blinks at this time. There's LC with blink. Maybe Juggernaut has blink.
Hmm. Yeah,
But he put it
and
and left. That's good discipline though, right?
yeah, he at least made that choice correct. He's like, oh shit, I definitely have to leave now.
Yeah. Yeah, I respect the departure. That's a good choice. Cool. We've got 5 cores on Dire.
A
I mean,
classic.
okay, let's say 3 to 4 cores to be generous. Spirit Breaker plays a lot of support. Okay,
Yeah, I think
and then
it's
we're
Clinks 5 and Spirit Breaker 4 this time.
oh, okay, right. Yeah. Are you still playing Clink support, by the way?
Yeah, I like it on 4, but it's not as good as it used to be. People have gotten used to it, and I think it got nerfed a little too.
That's a guilty pleasure now.
Yeah, it's still fun. It's fun to be the one popping out of invis killing people instead of being the
Yeah,
one killed.
yeah, makes sense. Okay, so we are in a situation with Clink's Phylactery, Crest. He's going to get Nullifier. Pretty good itemization. This itemization and draft. Hmm. Could this be better than? Well, let's not theorize on the rank. Okay, so what's the situation? Nice. Roshan is up.
All
5
right.
versus 3.
So at this point, they just got some kills, and I'll give you a hint and tell everyone when you're warding, you can't just do it whenever. You got to wait for a good opportunity. So usually, getting a couple kills like this is a good time to go ward. So that also involves then understanding like what do we want to do from here. So let me ask you, what do you think they should do now? And to enable that, where would you ward?
I would walk back 2 paces and then smoke into the triangle all the way across. You get a chance to get Teal, which is Medusa, and you can plant a really cheeky observer ward, not in one of the common places, but something that reveals map movement, I would say. I would like an observer ward maybe on the outcropping cliff of the tier 2 tower, or rather, yeah, that one.
Like this one?
This is an option. It does lead to some feeding sometimes because people use this info to dive tier 3, so probably better not. Something a little bit less common. Maybe just if we just go up one screen, just right in the middle of the lane, like not on the not like the not the hill, not the stairs, which is the second option, just right in the middle. And just the best possible ward, since you've got the manpower to defend it and abuse it. I would just place it kind of in the middle, either there where your cursor is, or 900 range to the top right of it. Yeah, something like that. And then you try to either target to get Medusa or Wind Ranger. I would like to do that to advance into their jungle. Alternatively, we could also push out bottom wave. It depends if we want to get more hero kills or if we want to get structural damage. None of the lanes are really pushed up, so it's not easy to get structures. Even bottom lane will take like 20 seconds, after which time Medusa is still free farming, Wind Ranger's free farming. I feel like rather than pushing out bot, which literally one person could do, it's not a job for 3 to 5 people. I would like my team to smoke up and go into Ancient and get some kills there.
If you had to pick an objective, which would you prioritize right now?
I would try to kill Medusa, Wind Ranger, and then push out mid tower, potentially. Wait, Roshan is up.
Mm-hmm.
That's also possible. All the towers are kind of far out. Medusa has a getaway button potentially. So we could also push out one wave bot, smoke into the warp gate, and then put an observer near the Lotus and take Roshan top left.
Yeah, that works for me either way. It kind of this is where in pub games like what you can
What
get your
would you
team.
do?
Whatever you can get your team to do as a team, like I'm okay with. I think getting Roshan around this time is really good. I am okay if you want to try to kill Medusa. If the team is like ready for that, I'd also be okay for that. So for warding, well, let me show you what. Actually, we'll finish talking about wards first. If you want to go for Roshan, it is nighttime, so Roshan's up here. So I think, to your point, yeah, one person shove out this lane, everyone else can go through the twin gate. And then because they're actually dead, you probably don't even need to ward for Rosh. Other times you need to set up
Yeah.
for Roshan to like place observers. But if you can get your team to go right now, I'd say like you probably can just sit here and do it because you see Medusa, you see Wind Ranger, so there's only a Warlock. He's not going to stop you. And so like actually while your team's doing it, the support could even then like, well, where do I then want to
Yes.
push? Maybe just down the lane so you can run down to go place a ward ahead of time.
I think you ward the Tormentor because sometimes people, after they hear Roshan is taken, they
Mm-hmm.
linger a little bit too long in the triangle or the Tormentor area. So if
Mm-hmm.
you already have an Ops ward there, it can give purpose to the Aegis team to invade there already faster.
He ends up.
Warding here would be bad because this is the area Radiant is scared of now. They just died here, so no one is going to wander in here. Most likely it won't do anything for at least 3 minutes if you ward this high ground tower.
You mean this area?
Yeah,
Through here?
if you ward here, nobody on Radiant is going to want to come here. So if he ends up warding here, it's probably not going to do anything for 3 minutes
So
because
not
nobody
a fan
dares
of
to
this
go
then.
here. No, not a fan. You?
I agree. I'd be okay if it was a little deeper because like all the tier ones are down, and so if you're thinking about like where you want to catch people, like you said, like the Radiant's kind of scared of here, so you're less likely to catch them out here, and actually more likely to see them maybe try to
Yeah,
sneak a
yeah,
camp here or here. So I'd
yeah.
prefer if you do want to ward here, an observer a bit deeper in.
That's true.
There's another issue unrelated to objectives and map movements and all that that I don't like about this observer. Do you know what that might
Tell
be?
me. I don't know.
So it's extremely common to just put sentries on cliffs. And the issue with this observer is that it's actually within his sentry.
It's in range.
So if anything else, at least putting it slightly higher. But then the
Yeah.
order here is also
Yep.
backwards. If you want to put a sentry, like if you're just gonna like observer and hope they don't have anything, that's fine. But if you're already planning to sentry to check the area, you should sentry first. Because if in this case he lucked out, they only have a sentry here. But if they had an observer, then they literally just watched him ward, and now they're gonna know, okay, I'm just gonna come by later, get that observer.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got imposter supports in Ancient that still put observer wards on the high ground tower first before sentry, and not during a moment of high stress where you immediately need to establish vision for an exploding team fight.
Mhm.
They just do it in that order because they couldn't be bothered to press Alt C first.
Yeah, you mean like this guy? They put another one on this cliff at the same time.
Oh no.
Somewhat related to that, then, when you have two observers like this, how do you feel about that? I mean, this was by accident. Like, Spear Breaker, I think, put it here just as Clinks put it there, so it wasn't, like, planned. But if you
Both
had two
wards are
observers, would you do
both
something like
wards
this?
are both wards are bad, and I would almost be tempted to just well, you still don't need observer for Roshan. If you could get everyone's ass to Roshan, it would still be fine. But it's almost a reason to want to push bottom tier 2 tower, provoke a response once they respawn and fight in it. I don't know, like somehow you want to be here again just to make use of the vision, protect it or something, but it's kind of just water under the bridge, no?
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, I do think that's okay. Like you said, if you do Roshan, come back up here, and then you choose to play here, because, I mean, wherever your wards are is kind of where you want to play. A lot of times people
Yeah.
put wards, like a bunch of wards bottom, and they all move top. And it's like, okay, well, like, why is that happening? And actually, that's a really common issue with playing Invis against Invis heroes, is that people try to put sentries everywhere on the map, but you really just need to play, like, one area where your sentries and observers are, so that you can see that Invis hero. And if you try to play everywhere, it's just not possible.
That's true. Zach, if you were Clinks and you were momentarily overcome with an insanity and you put your Ops Ward there and you're like, damn it, Zach. I've put Ops Ward in the hill vision. Would you, from this point onwards, coming back to your senses again, your team ignoring Roshan call, would you now TP mid to get that wave? I see that wave even as a support 4, and I'll be like, I want to go catch this one and push it out and create some nuance on the map. Would you TP away here?
I think if my team isn't listening, I
Like
might do
Sniper
it.
is farming the smallest camp on the map right now in a 5v3.
I
And
would
Earth now
say,
wants some of that Starbreaker wave. Of
yeah,
the
yeah.
Spiritbreaker wave.
For Clinks, because Clinks is so fast, I'm a little more open to these kind of teleports. Usually, it shouldn't like you shouldn't give up free map control like that. I'd say as a support, like if anyone's gonna do it, a core should do it. In this game, Spirit Breaker is actually a great hero for it because he has charge. Like if anyone
Yeah.
was gonna do it, I'd want Spirit Breaker to do it. But if my team really isn't listening, then yeah, I might come here, do this, and then like run back to the team because I'm so fast.
Yeah. When you said give up map control, how do you mean? You mean letting mid push in is giving up map control, or do you mean letting Klinks leave the front line is giving up map control? How do you mean?
The more heroes we have down here on this minimap, then we can
Mm.
we can kind of keep playing here, right? Because these two are dead for 30 seconds, which
Yeah, yeah.
means there's no like assuming these three heroes all grouped up. If we only have like two heroes down here, then they can actually play here.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, okay. So
but
you're saying like it's risky for a support to leave now, showing that you leave, and then leaving potentially your cores to the whims of those that remain in defense.
or it could be you, like you come down to deal with this, but the enemy, like let's say it's Wind Ranger. I actually have no idea what she has, but let's say she suddenly like blink shackle kills you, right? Because you
Sure,
split
yeah.
off from everyone else. If you do want
Yeah.
to deal with this and you're like too scared to back off, you can possibly cut mid. And if you bring like three heroes in this jungle and one hero's cutting mid, then we're still occupying their part of the map. We're
That's
dealing
true.
with mid. And then if they're avoiding us, right, they're either playing here, which fortunately we have an observer. And if we don't see them and we're like here, they're not here, then like they might be in here or they're just sitting in their base. And we're kind of like, if they're in their base, that's fine. But at that point, now you kind of know where they are. And as a group, we can still move in and like find them and force them to like teleport somewhere else. And then because we walked this whole time, we can also then teleport and follow.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Nice how you think about the game.
Oh,
Okay.
do you want to guess what the rank was?
Yeah, yeah, I would like to guess. The draft makes me feel like it's Guardian. But the itemization on Klinks and Spirit Breaker feels meta enough that they have opened the patch notes in the last 6 months. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say, wait, Crusader's third, then
Yeah.
Archon. I'm gonna say Archon. Very cautiously, I'm gonna say Archon.
Damn, nailing it. This is an Archon
Yeah.
game.
Oh, nice.
All right, so this time we're watching from Undying's perspective, and I'm gonna play
Okay.
this at 2 times speed for a little bit, and mainly I want
Okay.
you to keep an eye on the mini map and just like where heroes are.
Okay. He's the only one dead. He's about to TP back in. Got it.
This makes absolutely no sense.
I'm looking at the minimap. They're going hard on techies. The three of them. I saw Dark Willow actually place a ward to the right of the tower, I think. There's an ops ward, but no sentry. He's got 4 sentries. He's walking off by himself. There's no bounty, therefore there's no vision. Probably. And then he puts ops. Pointless. You don't want to fight in this area because you don't have a safe lane tower, but they do have off lane tower, so there was kind of a random ops ward. But because of its randomness, maybe it's going to give some useful info. Still, you don't want to fight there because enemy reinforces better. He takes invis. He's probably in an ops sentry now. And he still hasn't put down any sentries in an area that the enemy recently invaded and got a kill and left. So this is still a very relevant place to fight at because enemy and you both have the tier 1 tower still mid. So I would definitely just take a little stab at it and put a sentry in the middle of the river or even closer to our side because I think Dark Willow put something there.
hmm Let's get back to this one a little bit later. So from here, Undying picked up an Invis rune, and then
Yeah.
I'll just tell you and everyone else for supports because we're saying like it's kind of risky to go out to place observers, but when you pick up an Invis and a haste rune, those two in particular are really good at keeping you safe as
Ah.
a support to suddenly like run into the enemy's part of the map to place a deep ward. You might still die,
Oh,
but
yeah.
if you're gonna choose not having one of those runes versus when you have them, it's a really good time to think about going to place a deep ward. So with that in mind, not that you have to place a deep ward, but let's say he wants to go place an observer right now. Where do
Yeah.
you think would be like pretty good? Thinking about like where the team wants to play.
So normally, I always think that the second high ground tower of the enemy triangle is quite an attractive ward place if they cannot construe that you've been there. So Dire
This
second
one?
high ground tower. Sorry, how do you call this? Yeah, the
Where?
vision tower, not the actual structure that attacks, but the one we're looking at now. What is this
Oh, the
called?
cliff?
Yeah, the second high ground cliff of the ancient triangle from Dire. If they don't know that you've been there, it's a really nice observer spot. I would hug it to evade. I would go in from the shop and then hug it and then place it and then TP out. Because if you leave without Invis rune, then they'll see you leave and they'll clean up. So I would like that. But that's not a good area to fight because you'll be surrounded by 4 towers, which means you have no maneuverability. And the enemy can TP in from 4 spaces, which means they TP in fast and they're going to 360 surround. You're much more likely to want to play around enemy outpost. So that would create either this right side cliff as a kind of good observer ward. It's very obvious, but it's very valuable, and they wouldn't know that you placed it potentially. You could place it deeper in between the 2 tier 2 towers, but I feel like this cliff, it's nice, but again, it baits people to fight fairly deep, and it's difficult to maneuver there. So yeah, I'd probably place it either on the outpost or on the cliff of the outpost.
On the outpost, like right around here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like right where your cursor is, right there.
Okay.
Not that I ever placed it there, but I think it would work because it no longer has true sight, right? Where would you place it?
So, before I tell you that, let's talk more about what I think this team should do, like in this game. And from there, I want to see if you change how you want to place any observers, or maybe not. You know, maybe it's still fine. So one, you did mention like placing something in this area. First, I want to ask: is there anything in particular in this game that makes you want vision here more than in other games?
Well, they might do stacks because they have a Sven. So there could be like a massive. I don't know if Sven has taken them yet. There could be, for all we know, 10 stacks.
Exactly. Depending on the draft, like some heroes like stacks or not, and in particular ancient stacks. So like heroes like Medusa, Sven, they love when this area is stacked for them, and then there's also an ancient camp over here. So because of that, if I did want to play here, like you said, it is still kind of dangerous because all the towers are up, but if maybe we do want to try to mess with him, if we feel like we're strong enough for whatever reason, this, like when they have those kind of stack clearing heroes, that's when there's more value to placing something in this area. But sense. For that same reason, it can be pretty risky to come up here because if the enemy recognizes, hey, this area matters to us, then we want vision here, right? And they're likely, actually, before I almost said it, where do you think they would put, like what would they have if they want to protect this area?
Usually what I do as a support protecting the stacks, there's going to be one on the left side cliff here. And then there's going to be a sentry in the middle protecting the outcropping of the bridge here and the cliff. Yeah, right there where your ward is, right? Where your cursor is. So that would be a really obvious one that offers vision of at least the hard camp, which is probably also going to be stacked. Might as well double stack. Alternatively, you could put it over the shop, which will also reveal both. Bit higher, right to the right of the stairs there. This would be pretty good. It reveals both, maybe not the amount of stacks that there is in the Ancients, which I actually think is pretty neat to show to cores that are not listening to you on voice or chat. So the third option would be about 400 range to the top left of the watchtower, the neutral watchtower, like right against the, like 600 to the top left of your cursor now.
Sorry, here?
Yeah, there, or like 200 to the right. Yeah, there. Like this would be like a fine spot that reveals everything. Doesn't give as much advance warning, but at least you know when you're being had and you've got enough towers to protect it. I think all are fine. This one is not going to get cleared almost certainly by an opponent, so you'll fight in pretty decent vision.
This is for the dire observer you're talking about, right?
Yeah, for dire. But like I think this doesn't reveal enough. I would just put it on the cliff, so at least we know when shit's going to go down.
Yeah, I think when you want to protect certain parts of your jungle, trying to put things at the entrance is typically better because, like, say, for example, this observer you're talking about, by the time you see a hero, they're in here, which means if someone was farming Ancients, for example, and they walk up here, you're probably actually seeing each other at a very similar time, which, depending on the draft, may or may not leave you much time to react. But when you see them, when you put out a defensive ward, like, near the exit, so, like, the cliff you mentioned, or I'd say, like, out here can also be a good observer spot. Then you have a little bit more warning because you can kind of like see people as they come in. And it's also why, like, even if you're the team that's trying to be defensive, you're like, oh, we'll win in the late game. it is still useful to have like at least one deep ward, because this is where like people don't smoke here, which is where you'd see with the observer. They smoke back here. And so that's
Yeah.
why having a deep ward, even when you want to be defensive, can still be good, because you can even more warning, like, hey, Void Spirit mid or something showed here, maybe start to be careful, like your drow that's farming ancients or something.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't do that enough. Haste rune, invis, and then I go place a deep ward. I like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah. And then because we were talking about this, right? The invis rune means that you don't want them to have a sentry. If they see you, like if they have a sentry and an observer down, or at least the sentry and like a hero there, that means they see you. It's not going to work out. So because of that, this is also risky. Because I think like if we're playing at a higher level now and we're thinking this far, like both teams are thinking this far,
Yeah,
then we think they might have a sentry here. And I also think there's a high likelihood that Sven is in this area, because I don't see him on
yeah,
the map, and I know he likes farming here. That means
yeah,
it's actually pretty risky for me to come up here, even with the Invis rune, because Sven can definitely 1v1 kill me, or
yeah,
just like kick me out of the area. And I think there's enough conditions that like if both teams recognize it, then the Invis rune doesn't actually protect me here. Especially because without the towers down, like you mentioned, there's only a few ways to like walk in here, and it's pretty easy to
yeah.
cover the easiest one with the sentry.
But you would go in from the right. You would have to go in from the right. It's suicide to go from the left.
Yeah, I'd say if you do want to come in here, like you said, through the shop would probably be your safest bet. If you want to be really sneaky, you could maybe even like go all the way around like this. But he is not going to go that way. He's going to come top, actually. I'll give you that hint. So
I
what
don't
I
hate it.
yeah, what I like about top is because these tier 1 towers are down, both teams kind of like want to start playing in this area, like for the Radiant, like playing in this
Agree.
area or playing up here could be
Because
good.
in 1 minute from now, Roshan goes up, so it's an excellent place to get vision.
Yeah, that too. If you want to try to like prep for Roche, that could work. And in the same way, their tier 1 tower's down, so the enemy team might come in, which is actually why I think this observer is kind of okay, because it's near an
Oh.
entrance of your jungle, and you'll see people
Mm.
starting to invade in. So just because you lost this tower doesn't mean you want to like totally give up this area, but it also depends like how much you want to play here. And if you're like kind of willing to fight and you think the enemy is going to like sit here and camp it, then a ward like more in your jungle to spot that can be good. But if there's a little bit more movement in the game, something at the edge of the jungle can be good, so you can see them like initially making their movement in here, like trying to
Yeah,
find whoever's
but
defending it.
I 100% agree with what you're saying in terms of it's nice to know if they're going to play around an area that's relevant for them now. Roshan is still there. They feel safer because of the tower positioning, but it could also give a false sense of security because they would smoke while they're either in the triangle or at the shop area when they're still on the high ground. So if he had dared, I would have loved if he put it like right over the on the stairs of their shop. Then you're more likely to catch a smoke.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Though you would miss tier one walk ups, tier one tower walk ups
Hmm.
that go through the lane. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the benefit of what you mentioned, like you'd be more likely to spot smokes if you place the observer over here or over here. This one less likely to see that, like you said, but slightly more likely to know when they're farming camps. Because although this one can't actually see the camps themselves, you would see heroes farming it like here and then like walk through and then farm it
That's true.
here. So if you
Yeah,
want to
that's
try to
true.
take back this area, there's an advantage to that. I'm not saying like it's better than yours. It kind of depends on the game and kind of comes down to personal preference as well. It's
It,
even though it's
it
like a
has
warding
more.
quiz, there's no like
Yeah,
guaranteed right answer.
it has more facets of value. This ward, right? Like also, if you're chasing people after a fight broke out in our high ground jungle, then it's gonna do more than that weird little ward at the shop.
Hmm. I
So
think it
where does he
works.
place it?
Yeah, so we can keep going. So he's gonna make his way top. I guess he was thinking about it a little bit, moved around. So he actually
Yeah.
comes up here and then places it. He's thinking a little bit. I don't know how much information he knew in this game, but he actually chooses up here. What do you think about this
Oh.
spot?
Hmm. I place it here sometimes, but I mostly like it to see. Mostly when we're really fighting for the tower soon. It shows one camp. I think it shows the bounty rune, does it? Or is that Undying revealing that? No, I don't think it does.
Yeah,
What?
I think if you put it a little lower and to the side, it might. I don't think
Yeah.
this one.
I don't
Yeah, this
think
one
it's
actually
gonna.
doesn't.
I don't think it's gonna do a lot here.
What's the benefit of this kind of observer?
Mm, it will never be found.
Hmm.
99% sure.
Hmm. Yeah, this one's really hard to find. It's very like if you had to blindly guess anywhere in this area, this is essentially the last place you would guess, which is kind
Yeah.
of why this works really well. Like when you want to place deep wards, um, it depends like how much you're going to fight there, but when you want it to survive, you want to opt for things like this. And I didn't show you like early parts of the game, so I didn't, I'm not saying you should know this, but by either planned or by chance, because I don't know how much this Undying knew, the enemy actually has a sentry and an observer on the edge, which that part
Nice.
we can kind of guess. In the same way he put one down here near the entrance of his jungle, it's not that crazy to think they might have something in this area as well. But
Oh,
also
yeah.
by chance, due to other stuff happening, they actually also have a sentry here and here. And so this is like the one area, the last area
true.
that they are unlikely to check. And this is also where it comes down to luck a little bit, right? Because I'd say like, oh, an observer here makes sense too. Like this area makes sense, right? To a degree. There's value to all those kind of observers as well. But if he really wanted one to survive, then like this is a clear example that this is the spot you want. And
Yeah.
sometimes you will get games like this where like it just works out.
From the observer and sentry locations and
Hmm.
the draft, I feel like this is divine or better.
Final answer?
Yeah, I'd say I think this is your game. You're the Undying.
No, not quite. I am in one of these. This is a top immortal game. I pulled this from Dota 2 Pro Tracker. So
Yeah.
this is some of the highest like rank 300 higher players.
Yeah, because Dark Willow is a losing hero in Ancient and Below pubs, but she gets played in Immortal. And then Primal, Batrider. Batrider is bottom 3 win rates in Ancient. Did you know that?
I did not actually. That's crazy. He's
Yeah.
actually he's so good, but he's hard.
He's so good. Yeah.
He's hard. Yeah.
Primal, Batrider, and Dark Willow generally don't get played that well at my level, and Mars as well.
Mhm.
But they're really good at Immortal. And then, of course, I could also infer from the respect with which you spoke of all the different ward locations.
Giving it away a little bit. Yeah, this is
Cool.
something where that's the hard part where like observers that work in Immortal may not work in other ranks, so you can't just like copy what they want. Like in this game, I'd say like he can relatively trust his Bat Rider and Primal Beast cores to be like fairly active, want to farm very aggressively, but also be willing to join fights. And that's kind of why like I think these observers work because I'm pretty sure this guy has like he has like boots of travel on Bat Rider. So just like these kind of deep wards allow him to like farm aggressively, but also then like, oh, we see him, let's fight, like kick him out, TP in, all that kind of stuff.